So, before I go on, I'm just going to say, look, this video is likely to be quite controversial, and certainly not everyone is going to agree. And like I've said multiple times on this channel, I don't expect everybody to agree. We can't always agree with one another, and if there weren't questions in this case, then I certainly wouldn't continue to look into it. For me personally, I have children, I have daughters, and this sits quite close to my heart. Now, I have looked over so much information regarding this case. I've got emails coming into me every single day in their abundance of people going over everything, and there will be information coming in that many people who are involved in looking at this case and are interested in this case are likely unaware that it even exists. And all we want is to get to the bottom of what happened to Kiely Rodni. Now, I personally think, having looked over every single thing there is, and trying to make sense of many things that don't make sense, that the only kind of thing that makes sense is that this was a trafficking situation that potentially went wrong. And I'm going to explain why I come to that conclusion. Now, many people have said that Kiely Rodni died because it was just an accident. It was simply an accident. This was a girl who, she went to a party and subsequently got in a car and drove into a reservoir. And look, I'm not saying that's completely impossible, but what I am saying is, what is the probability of that? Now, Kiely was a smart girl. She was a smart girl. She was not someone who you would expect to make mistakes, but she could have. But would she have made such a catastrophic mistake without there being mitigating circumstances as to why that happened? Now, if she was plied with something, whether it be alcohol or whether it be drugs, then that would explain the catastrophic mistake that she made. But then it does mean that someone should be held accountable for that. Whoever supplied, whoever was the person who supplied these teenagers, these underage children, with these substances that would go on to kill a child. Now, we've heard that the case is still ongoing, so that's why law enforcement won't answer any questions. And why is that? Is it because it is indeed ongoing? It is being investigated. So you have to ask the question as to, hold on a second, this was just simply an accident, what many people have concluded already, then why would they still be looking into it? Why would they be investigating? What is there left to investigate? Or maybe it is simply investigating who supplied the things that were supplied that would lead to this. And maybe we will see heads roll in the future. Now, in addition to that, you could argue that they're just keeping it open because it's easier to say it's open so they don't have to answer all these awkward questions that keep coming up. Like, why was there a vehicle reported to be being placed into a container? That's right, there was a call made to law enforcement that was reporting a vehicle being placed into a lock-up container, and it was said to be suspicious. We've heard that Nick, the tow truck driver, had seen and interacted with who he is adamant it's Kiely. And he actually stated in an interview that the girl had introduced herself as Kiely. We've heard that Sammy, she spoke to Kiely at 12:36 a.m. when we can see that there is firecam footage that would dispute that claim. So it brings me now to why I feel that this could have potentially been a trafficking incident that went horribly wrong. Now, what do we know? We know that Kiely went to a party, but we have not been shown proof that this party, of the magnitude that we was led to believe this party was, existed. It doesn't exist. The proof of that does not exist. That is just the words of the last people to see Kiely. These are people who claim to be her friends, yet there is nothing to support that either. There are no posts. There isn't an abundance of photographs of them having fun together. There isn't, videos over social media showing these people interacting with Kiely. A straightforward question and answer would lead Sammy Smith to not being able to confidently say in what capacity her and Kiely were indeed friends and for how long. And I don't need to go over the rest of that interview to point out the multiple issues that interview had. But Kiely would go to a party with her best friend Mags. And Mags would leave for whatever reason. But she would leave after turning up sort of 10-15 minutes later to leave Kiely with an older girl who, aforementioned, struggled to tell us in what capacity she was a friend, how long they'd been friends, that there is no proof that these were friends, and there is people who have come out and said that they were not friends. Sammy did not like Kiely, and they had a disagreement at the party. But they would apparently spend all night together, drinking, sharing drinks, going to the toilet together. But then Kiely, at some way along the lines, would get left at this party. Remember, the party that there is no proof about. The firecam footage doesn't even support the narrative of this party and the size of this party. The reports from the couple who was at the nearby campground, their reports don't support what these kids said about the party in terms of its size. And why is that important? It's important because in the abundance of people, if you believe their narrative, then it's very hard to pinpoint someone who has done something wrong because there is just so many people. We don't know who they are. There was people of all ages. There was even adults there. That's what we was led to believe. But look, Kiely would get left at this party that was deemed to be uncomfortable. Now, Sammy hasn't come out and said that they had a dispute and Kiely didn't want to leave. That's not what was said. She just said that she was going to get a lift. Then she wasn't going to get a lift. They'd gone to the car. They'd arranged getting a lift together. But then she got out of the car and went and got a lift with somebody else. That somebody else has never come forward. We don't know who that was. We don't know who she got a lift with. And there is a clip within that interview when she's talking about getting a lift that she clearly goes to say that she is driving. Now, I believe that Sammy's vehicle was at that party all along, and I believe she drove herself home. Again, that's just what I believe. That's just me speculating, and I'm speculating based on that interview, that Sammy was clearly going to say that she was driving, and she corrected herself. Now, would she be driving someone else's vehicle? I think she's more than likely going to be driving her own vehicle. So I believe that Sammy's vehicle was there all along, which then brings into question that why she would be trying to retain Kiely at the party, hanging about with her all night, sharing drinks, and then she would go on to leave her there. Now, we're trying to think that Kiely would make such a catastrophic mistake that she would take a wrong turn, and we're talking about going left and not right, and then she would drive down into the water. Could she have been being chased? Would that be enough to make someone panic and lose their way? Because I don't think even a drunk person would forget their way, make a left turning or a right turning when they should have made the opposite. You know, even drunk people, when they drink and drive, they generally know the direction they're heading. It's just the manner with which they're driving. They might be speeding, they might be all over the place. But we're led to believe that a girl who was native to the area, she managed to drive her vehicle across difficult terrain without incident, but then she would come to a junction and take the complete wrong turn, then head down towards the water, bearing in mind that it would be bouncing about all over the place, and then she would drive herself into the water. Now, the fire cam footage is disputable. You know, we don't actually see Kiely herself on it. It's impossible. The camera's 2 miles away. But it does seem to show a vehicle entering the water. But it also shows that the vehicle pauses. It stops at various intervals during its journey. It also shows that there are other vehicles nearby, close by. And it would appear that when she left, the time that her vehicle left coincided with the mass exodus. So there would have been multiple cars leaving at the same time. We're led to believe that not one other car saw her enter the water. Now, I feel that this was a trafficking situation or an attempted kidnap, or perhaps it was a successful one, and it was much more of an elaborate plan, and there were other vehicles involved, and there was other people, which we can go into in more in depth, I suppose. But this rests on whether Nick is being honest, which I have not seen one thing to dispute Nick being honest. Nobody's come forward and said that he was lying. Nobody, you know, the guy is easy enough to find on social media for those who have the savvy to do it. I'm not going to say what his name is, but he is on social media and he doesn't look like he's the kind of person who would make this up. They are a respectable or seemingly respectable couple. So what have they got? What skin in the game do they have? Because the only skin in the game they can have is either to try and be covering up what really happened, or to simply be telling the truth. That they did indeed see Kiely hours after that we're led to believe she entered the water. But either of them situations go hand in hand with something that happens all the time across the US. This isn't a rarity. This wouldn't be the first time that this has ever happened. This is something that happens every single day in abundance, yet people are more willing to accept that a native girl, completely out of the blue, decided to drive home and drove herself into a reservoir. How many other people in the history of Truckee and the multitude of parties has driven themselves into that reservoir and perished? How many people have even driven into that reservoir and managed to escape? So a close experience in that water on that route. Do you believe that this was the first party that Kiely had ever been to? She'd never been here before. She had never been drunk and driven that route before. Is that what you're believing? Is that what you're going with? Because I'm telling you, if you believe that there isn't more to this case, then you are naive. And this is completely my opinion, based on all of the information that's out there. And until I am satisfied that everything has been looked at and all of the questions that there are have been answered, I will continue to try my hardest to get these answers and to conclude this case. Because I feel at this stage, like I say, that this was not just an accident. I believe that either Kiely lost her life because she was trying to get away from someone because they were trying to take her, or she was taken away from that site and she would be returned there later. Or something more sinister. But again, I don't want to go too mad with it because I know people start to lose their minds. But there is questions throughout this entire case, and I cannot just accept that this was just a straightforward accident where a girl has had a drink, got in a car, took a left instead of a right, and gone into the reservoir. Simple as that. No culpability, no nothing. No blame, and we're done. I'll catch you all in the next one.